But if I stop, someone else gets hurt. And if I keep going, it's you.
He never got the chance to rest.
Explosion at Oscorp Labs. Metahuman activity.
Hello? You took everything from me, Parker.
I may be nobody to everyone, but I'm still Spider-Man. This is my destiny.
You winged thief robbing a tech lab. Jonah called him some kind of vulture, and Peter quietly muttered that birds seemed to follow him everywhere. Later that day, Felicia Hardy appeared out of nowhere, teasing him about still chasing cameras instead of dreams. He said he liked chasing things, and she told him to be careful what he caught. Peter remembered her from college and wondered why she had come back now. Across the city, engineer Adrian Toombs raged that the world had stolen his designs. He and his henchmen prepared a flight suit, and with a bitter laugh he declared that tonight the Vulture would fly. Mary Jane sensed Peter's distance and confronted him. Diplomat work, but she knew it was Spider-Man work. She wished he could let someone else carry the world, yet he said if he dropped it, people would fall. That night, on a rooftop, Felicia met Spider. She joked about the city's treasures, saying some shine brighter than others. He accused her of stealing, and she answered that she preferred. When he warned her to stop, she smiled and said it was sweet that he remembered her name. Then
Attention all units! Explosion at Oscorp Labs!
Hello? Anyone here need help?
You took everything from me, Parker!
Mac?
Oscorp fixed me, made me stronger!
explosions broke the sky. Vulture's drones attacked. Spider-Man shouted for Felicia to get down as metal shards filled the air. Toombs roared that Peter had stolen his youth, his inventions, his future. Spider-Man shouted that he didn't even know him, but Toombs screamed that Oscorp and the Bugle had ruined his life. Watching from a ledge, Felicia whispered that two predators were sharing one sky, wondering if she should pick a side. Mary Jane called Peter, worried after seeing news footage. He was exhausted, bleeding, insisting it was just another villain with a grudge. She begged him to come home, and he promised he would. Meanwhile, Toombs plotted his next strike, dismissing talk of the thief as irrelevant. Felicia heard that insult and decided to prove otherwise. When she later helped Spider-Man escape another ambush, he asked why she was helping him. She said maybe she liked heroes or maybe she just hated vultures. He told her she wasn't a villain, but she warned him not to try saving her because she wasn't the foe. Soon the fight reached its peak. Toombs accused Spider-Man of ruining his reputation. Peter shouted that Toombs had done that himself. The old man said then they both deserved to crash. His wind turbine screamed as he dove. Felicia yelled for Peter to move and accidentally called him by name. Startled, he realized she knew. She admitted she'd figured it out from his eyes. They gave him away. When he asked why she hadn't told Anyan, she said secrets were valuable and she liked having one of his. Later, Aunt May reminded Peter that Uncle Ben once believed he could fix everything alone. Peter replied that he was just trying to keep people alive. At the Bugle, Jonah ranted about the flying freak wrecking Midtown and complained that Spider-Man was missing. Robbie joked maybe Spider-Man was out saving Jonah's readers. And Jonah grumbled about running 2 headlines to boost sales. The final showdown came atop a skyscraper. Vulture screamed that he would drain the city's life, starting with Peter pleaded with him to stop, but Toombs said it was too late. The turbines overheated. Felicia warned that if they melted, half the block would explode. Peter swung through the smoke, webbing the wings apart. Toombs fell, and Peter caught him. "Why save me?" the old man gasped. "Because that's what we do," Peter said. Toombs managed a faint smile. "Maybe you are better than the rest." When the sirens grew near, Felicia appeared beside him. "You're still the hero," she said. He answered, "Someone has to be." She smiled and replied that maybe next time she'd be the thief who saved him. Peter returned home, battered but alive. Mary Jane met him at the door, whispering that she worried every time he went out there. He said she made coming back worth it. Aunt May told him that saving the world often started with saving himself. He promised he'd try. The next morning, Jameson's voice thundered from the television. Reports confirmed Spider-Man and an unidentified woman had captured the Vulture. Jonah dubbed her Black Cat and called her a bad influence. Peter chuckled. Moments later, his phone buzzed with a text. "Miss me yet?" Felicia's message. Peter smiled. Mary Jane noticed and asked who it was. "Just an old friend." he said. She warned him to tell that friend Spider-Man was taken. Message received, he answered with a grin. Aunt May called from the kitchen that dinner was ready. Peter stood at the window, watching the city pulse with lights, and whispered to himself that New York never slept hand. Neither could he, because as long as someone was falling, he would always be there to catch them. Peter lingered by the window long after the words left his mouth, watching the pulse of the city beneath him. Each light felt like a heartbeat New York's own rhythm, one he could never stop hearing. Mary Jane stirred behind him, half asleep on the couch. She smiled faintly, murmuring his name before drifting back to dreams he could never join. He wished he could sit beside her and let the night pass quietly, but the sirens in the distance called louder than any lullaby. Within moments, the mask was on, and Peter Parker was gone. Only Spider-Man remained. He swung through the cool air, the city glowing orange below. Every rooftop, every alley, every pulse of wind reminded him of why he still did this. The guilt of Harry, of the people he couldn't save, never left, but it pushed him forward. On Fifth Avenue, he spotted smoke rising from a jewelry store. Inside, 3 masked thieves were loading bags while a terrified clerk cowered. Spider-Man smashed through the skylight, webbing the first robber before his feet touched the ground. The second swung a crowbar, but Peter sidestepped and flicked his wrist web. Yank, down. The third tried to run, but a sudden streak of silver rope caught his ankle. Leaving already, a familiar female voice teased. Felicia Hardy stood on a display case, silver hair shining under the alarms. I was in the neighborhood, she said with a grin. Could have fooled me, Peter answered, tying up the last thief. You planning to steal or help tonight? Why not both? Say, reply. Yet instead of grabbing jewels, she tossed him a small data drive. Found this. Near up, figured you'd want it. He looked at her carefully. What's the catch? No catch. Spider. Maybe I'm just tired of vultures. She vanished into the night before he could reply, leaving him holding the drive and 1,000 questions. The next morning, Peter sat at his desk in the Daily Bugle, pretending to edit photos while Jonah Jameson thundered about winged lunatics and that spider menace. Robbie Robertson slid him a cup of coffee and whispered, his worst before deadlines. Peter smiled faintly, but kept thinking about the Oscorp drive. When he opened it later in his apartment, he found encrypted blueprints labeled Bioadaptive Flight System, the same project Toombs had mentioned before his arrest. Across town, in a shadowed Oscorp lab, Adrian Toombs lay in a hospital bed connected to wires and monitors. His body was broken, but his eyes burned with hatred. A figure entered slender, face hidden beneath a hood. Father, she said softly, they think you're finished. But I can finish what you started. Toombs tried to speak, but the oxygen mask muffled his words. She placed a hand on his chest. Rest? I'll make Spider-Man pay. Her name was Alicia Toombs, and vengeance flowed in her veins. That night, Peter walked Mary Jane home after her rehearsal. She talked about a new opportunity, a theater production in Boston. He tried to sound happy, though the thought of her leaving hollowed him. You always said the city needs Spider-Man, she told him gently. But I need Peter, too. Don't forget it. He promised he wouldn't, though both of them knew promises were fragile. The following week brought strange headlines. Unmarked drones sighted above Midtown. Shipments missing from Oscorp's R&D labs. Spider-Man investigated and discovered evidence of new wing tech being tested in secret. He traced it to the docks, where he found Felicia again, crouched atop a shipping crate. You keep showing up where trouble starts, he said. Maybe I'm the trouble, she replied, then added more seriously. Oscorp's moving something big tonight, prototype tech. Someone's using your name to get inside. Before he could ask who, the sky exploded in green light. A metallic shriek echoed across the harbor. From the smoke emerged a new figure, sleek silver armor, emerald-powered wings, and eyes glowing with rage. Spider-Man! The woman screamed. My father built greatness, and you've destroyed it. Peter barely dodged the first blast. Who are you? Alicia Toombs, the real Vulture. The battle erupted across the docks. Spider-Man swung between cranes, deflecting her plasma bursts with desperate webs. Felicia joined in, her whip cutting through the cables that fed power to the suit and toward the glowing reactor on Alicia's back. She sliced it with her talon, sparks raining around them. "You think saving my father makes you a hero?" she yelled. "You turned him into a prisoner. I saved his life," Peter shouted back. "He still has a chance to make it right." "My family doesn't want your pity," she cried, launching another strike that tore a crane in half. Felicia swung in, landing beside Peter. "You know, you really attract the dramatic ones." "Not helping," he muttered, ducking as the wing blade sliced overhead. They fought to gare fluid, instinctive. Felicia's agility matched his, each movement synchronized like a danger. The city outside hummed, alive and restless. He looked down at his torn gloves, the faint cut on his shoulder, and wondered how long he could keep balancing two worlds. At dawn, he stood on a rooftop as sunlight broke across the skyline. People below were already hurrying to work, unaware of the chaos from hours ago. He thought about Toombs in custody, Alicia in chains, Felicia disappearing again, and Mary Jane chasing dreams in another city. He felt proud, lonely, and strangely at peace. Tevindrose, carrying the faint sound of laughter and car horns. He smiled beneath the mask. "New York never stops," he whispered. "Neither will I." With one smooth motion, he fired a web toward the next building and leaped into the morning light. A crimson streak against the gold of dawn, still the same Spider-Man, still the same promise. To catch anyone who falls. Weeks had passed since the battle at Oscorp, but the echoes of that night still lingered in Peter's mind. The city was healing, yet the scars on its skyline and his heart remained. Every evening he patrolled in silence, gliding between skyscrapers like a shadow, listening to the hum of life below. Felicia Hardy had vanished without a trace, leaving only a note. "We both deserve peace someday." Mary Jane was touring again, her voice filling stages across the coast, but her last call to him carried warmth that eased his restless guilt. "Keep saving people, Peter," she had said, "but don't forget to save yourself too." One stormy night, a new ripple of chaos disturbed a fragile calm. Whispers spread through the underworld that someone was rebuilding Oscorp's secret division, trying to harness the remaining spider serum. Peter followed the trail to an abandoned subway facility beneath Queens, where humming generators powered a hidden lab. Inside, he found a wall of prototype armor, gliders, and spider-shaped drones. A cold voice greeted him from the shadows. "You took my father. You ruined his dream." Stepping forward was Richard Toombs, Adrian Toombs' son, wearing an upgraded Vulture suit, sleeker and deadlier than before. His wings unfolded with a mechanical shriek as sparks danced across the floor. "Tonight," he hissed. "You fall like he did." The battle exploded through the tunnel's metal-slicing air, webs flashing like silver lightning. Peter ducked a razor feather, countering with a web strike that tore one wing panel free. But Richard fought with vengeance rather than reason, pushing both of them onto the subway tracks as a train thundered toward them. Peter fired two webs at the ceiling and swung them to safety just in time, crashing into a maintenance chamber. "You don't have to do this," he shouted. "Your father chose his path." Richard snarled. "And you chose to let him die." He lunged again, but this time, Peter caught the suit as power cell with a precise web shot and ripped it free. The wings sputtered, collapsed, and Richard fell, barely conscious. Peter caught him before he hit the ground. "You're better than this," he whispered. "Don't waste your life on his mistakes." When the police arrived, Spider-Man was already gone. Only Richard Toombs remained, breathing, alive, and finally silent. That night, Peter sat atop the Queensboro Bridge, rain pouring over his mask. For the first time in years, he felt the imperfect, beautiful Spider-Man's sword above it all, a lone streak of red and blue cutting through the twilight. Forever watching, forever protecting, forever home.